So, just over a week ago now, Marvel Studios' WandaVision wrapped up its first and probably final season. I can't see them doing a second season. And today, we're going to be reviewing it here on Grand Admiral Commentary. So, I just want to start off by saying that yes, this video will be spoiler heavy, so if you haven't seen the show and you don't want to be spoiled, please don't continue watching the video and go and watch the show first. But overall, my opinion on the show is it was pretty good. I enjoyed WandaVision. I think this show really made me like Wanda a lot more because in the MCU she hasn't really done anything too interesting anyway, but this show gave her the spotlight and really gave her a chance to deal with her grief after losing Vision and her brother in Age of Ultron. And I think that's what this show does really well is portray Wanda's grief, and grief is a big part of the show and what we do when we suffer loss. And I really feel like the show encompasses those themes and really explores them very well. But then it does bring up the moral question of what Wanda was doing. Was it morally right or was it morally wrong? Did she sacrifice anything in the end, or did she free people she'd imprisoned? There's a lot of ambiguity with whether Wanda's a villain or not. I don't see her as a villain, but I don't see her as a hero anymore. In the comics, if you have ever read the Avengers Disassembled storyline leading into House of M, you know that Wanda is pretty crazy at times. She goes completely nuts in the comics, and she basically went nuts here in the show, imprisoning an entire town. Whether it was her own cognitive thinking that she decided, oh yeah, I'm going to imprison everybody here, or whether or not it was an accident, which the show kind of portrays it was an accident that she imprisoned everyone, but she was also aware she was doing it, so I'm not quite sure really. I like I said, I don't consider her a villain, but I don't consider her a hero either anymore because of what she's done. But, I think that they'll definitely explore Wanda and the Scarlet Witch a lot more. And hopefully, I'd love to see Wanda as a villain. I think that would be a nice different twist for the MCU to see the hero become a massive villain. I would love to see that, really. But speaking of the Scarlet Witch, that was definitely one of my favorite parts of the show, was when in the season finale she finally became the Scarlet Witch and got a version of her classic comic book costume, which I think looked awesome, the costume she has in the MCU now. And, I felt like it was really well earned, the way they built up to the Scarlet Witch reveal in the show and how she finally became the Scarlet Witch. Yeah, that was fantastic, and I can't wait to see more of Wanda. Again, that's what this show does really well, shows Wanda's grief and how it's changed her into the Scarlet Witch. Yeah, perfect. Now, I do know for a lot of people, the show started off very weird with the sitcom aspect of the show. The fact that they went full sitcom with no connection to the MCU whatsoever was very weird. And to be honest, I personally am not a fan of sitcoms, so those first two episodes were quite difficult for me to sit through because I was like, what are we doing here? Looking back on them, they're my two least favorite episodes of the season. Definitely the first two episodes, just because there's not much connection to anything going on or any mystery really. There is some creepy bits here and there where things start to seem out of place, but apart from that, the episodes are just regular sitcom episodes from like the 1950s and 40s, and it just didn't do it for me. I didn't care about the sitcom, and I know people have said, oh, I wish it was more of the sitcom stuff. I personally didn't like the sitcom aspect of the show. I thought, yeah, like I said, I don't like sitcoms, and that it was just boring whenever the sitcom was on the show because I thought, well, this isn't an actual sitcom. This is a weird augmented reality. I want to see why the reality is the way it is. I don't really care about staying in the sitcom world. So I'm glad the sitcom stuff didn't last too long. And if you want to go back and watch the show, yeah, don't worry. The sitcom stuff doesn't last very long, and it quickly goes away and fades into more of a mystery story, which I thought was quite a refreshing change from the first two episodes. In previous MCU movies, I really felt that Vision was completely wasted, and I kind of do feel like that in this show as well. He didn't really do anything. Like, it was interesting him going against Wanda's magic and, trying to figure out that this place that they're in is not real and it's all a figment of Wanda's imagination. But, he kind of just goes away, like, in the middle of the season or towards the end of the season. Like, episode 6, I think he's investigating and he tries to leave the Hex and he gets disintegrated. And then he's just at the circus with Darcy and they're going in a van driving around, and then he disappears for like a whole episode and a half, and then he just pops up in the finale just to say goodbye. Like, nothing really happened with Vision. There was White Vision, of course, who came in at the end, and you know, as cool as it was seeing a classic version of Vision from the comics, it didn't really do anything either. Like Vision just continuously just does nothing in the MCU, and it's quite upsetting. And again, he could be such an awesome character, but they just don't do anything with him. But I guess he's back out there now with White Vision being implanted with the memories of old Vision. So I'm not sure what they're going to do with White Vision, if I'm honest, because he's a motionless Vision, but he's still Vision and he has the memories of Vision. So is it basically Vision or not? I'm not sure. Uh, but yeah, Vision was not my favorite part of the show at all. White Vision, nor weird fake Vision. Like, I just didn't think Vision was done very well in the show. So, in terms of all the stuff that goes on outside of the Hex, I found that quite interesting. I liked Monica, I liked Jimmy, and I liked Darcy. I think that trio worked really well together, and I thought them investigating the mystery of the Hex was all very good and very well written. And I really liked the intrigue that it brought to the show when we learned that Wanda had captured everyone, and we started learning about the identities of the people in the town, what really was happening. It was all very well done, everything outside of the Hex. The only part I had a slight problem with was with director Hayward. I think the show tried too hard to say that he was a villain without actually showing that he was a villain. At no point did he do anything wrong. And yes, he was trying to build or turn Vision into a sentient weapon, but we don't know if that was government commissioned or not. We've got literally no idea what he was actually trying to do with that. Like, was it government commissioned? Was he evil and trying to do it for his own ends? Like, we don't know. So I thought it was pretty weird that the show tried so hard to make him a villain. And then in the last episode, he just ended up trying to shoot kids, which I thought was the show just trying to rush in that he is a bad guy without actually trying to make him a bad guy. That's my only complaint, really, with the stuff outside the Hex, was director Hayward. He was very generic, but at the same time, I didn't see him as a villain at all. I think the most obvious reveal in the show, but still one of the best reveals, was that Agnes, the nosy neighbor, was actually witch Agatha Harkness from the comics. And I thought that was a great twist. And I thought Catherine Hahn, who played Agatha, was fantastic in the role. She was a really, really interesting and well played character. I really loved learning about her history at the Salem witch trials and her draining the other witches' power. And obviously, that's what she's trying to do with Wanda. And I like the fact that she wasn't actually behind it all. Besides the song saying it was Agatha all along, it kind of wasn't Agatha all along at all. Like, the only reason she was there was to try and learn how Wanda created the Hex, how she was able to wield such magic. And obviously, that's how she figures out that Wanda is a Scarlet Witch. So I really like that aspect of her, and I thought, the big CGI battle at the end was a bit cliche, but I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed how Wanda defeated Agatha, sorry. And I'm really hoping that we see her again because she was left alive, so she's not dead. So hopefully we can get Agatha Harkness back in the future because I thought she was really a great villain for the show and worked really well as a foil to Wanda. Now, I know a lot of people had some crazy fan theories going into the finale, especially people were saying, oh, Doctor Strange is going to show up, Mephisto's going to show up, the X-Men are going to show up, and I didn't believe any of that. I didn't care about fan theories. I usually don't. I'm like 50-50 on them. Sometimes when I see a really good one, I'll think, oh yeah, that's interesting. But in terms of the Doctor Strange stuff, I just thought, nah, that's not going to happen. I don't see them doing that. But the biggest surprise of the season was definitely seeing Evan Peters playing Ralph Boner, not Quicksilver, which I know a lot of people were disappointed about, but personally, I didn't want them to bring the messy X-Men continuity into the MCU. X-Men, that universe just completely went off the rails at the end with its continuity, and I'm glad that they're scrapping that and saying, no, we're starting new, this is just a completely different character. One thing I also want to mention that I quite liked was the family dynamic with WandaVision, Tommy and Billy. I thought that was all done very well, and Wanda's goodbye with her two kids, that was really emotional. And of course her goodbye with Vision was also emotional, but I thought the kid one hit harder. But yeah, I enjoyed all of that. And that brings us to the end of our review here. We have talked about everything really in the show. I've gone over what I liked, what I didn't like, and overall, I'd say the series is a good series. It's very fun, introduces a lot of comic book elements, like I said, my personal favorite thing they introduced was the Scarlet Witch. I thought that was done perfectly. But yeah, overall, I'd give the series like a 8 out of 10, maybe 7.5 out of 10. Like I said, it's not the like most wow series ever, but it certainly had its moments of good writing, strong character development, especially for Wanda. But like I said, Vision didn't really get that, which was a shame. He was just kind of like inquisitive the whole time. But yeah, I've been Grand Admiral Commentary. Thank you for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you later.